So we're going to go through what the challenges of change monitoring are. If you've got a Domino environment in your enterprise, and I, personally worked in IBM for 17 and a half years and have seen, a lot of stuff change inside Notes and Domino, and I know how complicated the environment can get now with same-time servers and connections kicking off the back of it and using it as LDAP and quicker and, all of the clustering that happens. So the, configuration documents and everything. It's a real nightmare to manage your change monitoring of what's going on inside your Domino directory. So that's why we've created this particular module, and we'll go through that in some more detail. What are the challenges of actually making sure that you're up to date and up to speed with what's going on inside your directory. And then we're going to actually show you the key features, the benefits, and then I'm going to show you it running live. I have a small virtual machine running on my laptop here, and I'll show you how we can actually monitor the changes happening live inside a Domino directory. Okay, and then we'll show you the rest of our solutions at a glance. Literally, it'll be a couple of seconds. And then we'll have some Q&A. So if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat window inside the WebEx, and we'll get round to those at the end. So why is change monitoring critical to your organization? Well, the obvious things are that you want to know who changed what. If something goes wrong, you want to know who was actually responsible so that you can remind them how to do it properly next time. Not that anybody on this call would be vindictive, but you might want to be able to apportion blame somewhere. Regulatory adherence to corporate standards. Everyone now is getting audited. Everyone is getting audited. With the Enron thing and the Sarbanes-Oxley that comes around now, everyone has to keep records of what they're doing inside their financials, inside their collaboration environments, inside of their messaging systems. So everyone needs to know that they've got a record of that somewhere. Who changed what? When did it happen? What was changed? Why did you do it? All of that change control. How do you actually get evidence that that was done? Well, we can do it in the change monitoring module. You can actually make sure that things that get changed don't impact your users because you can spot them early. So one of the examples I've got is a real-world example that came from a friend of mine, and I'll explain more about that later, but it actually meant that the whole of their enterprise of something like 60 or 70 Domino servers was unable to talk to each other. And we'll go through that scenario and how the change monitoring module could have stopped that before it got very far inside that organization. You can also work out how much it's going to cost you in terms of, if I do this change, what's it going to affect? You can do it in a test bed, watch the change monitor come through and see if it affects anything else, and actually have an idea as to if you make this change, what's it going to be? If you make that change, what's it going to be? So we can see that stuff go through as well. And then it's really interesting to see where changes go first. So when I was managing a large environment inside of IBM, we used to apply a change in one of the address books inside the hub server, and then we never knew which particular spoke server would get it first. We had no idea. And you can't work that stuff out unless you're there physically typing in the replication commands on the command console of the hub server, which isn't what Domino administrators do. So we were sat there waiting and almost taking bets on which particular server would get the change first and when would it implement, depending on the Domino cache flush and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So one of the things that is really, really important is that if you make a change that you're not expecting, you need to be able to pinpoint exactly what was changed so that if you need to, you can reverse it very, very quickly. I know of lots of people. I don't know if any of you guys have been to Lotusphere and seen Paul Mooney and Bill Buchan present their worst practices sessions. That's a really funny session if you've not seen it before. But it's real-world examples of where an administrator or a developer went wrong and what trouble it caused their company and how they went about fixing that. And most of the time, if you speak to Paul or Bill, they'll tell you that they then went searching for a needle in a haystack So they then went searching for which particular configuration thing changed inside the application or inside the name and address book that actually caused the servers to all fall apart, or caused everyone to stop replicating, or caused all the mail files to be blank. So it's one of those things that we can trap some of this stuff, and you're never going to trap all of it. But having an idea where to start looking from the Change Monitor report that you're going to get is, a really big help in trying to work out what actually happened to that disaster and where to go fix it. Okay, yep, hard to track down the root cause. Yeah. So the other thing is you might have a rogue administrator turn up inside your environment at some point, and they can do an awful lot of damage, as we will all know, by having access and the keys to the kingdom. And in terms of Domino, you can tie some of that stuff down for an administrator, but you can't tie it all down. You need to be able to make sure that you're managing and tracking what these guys are doing. Okay, and the other thing is, if I've seen this in groups of administrators before, where if you show them that they're being audited, they tend to make less mistakes. And it's a very simple psychological thing that happens, is that if you tell people they're audited all the time, they think more about what they do. So they're less likely to have fat fingers, I call it, which is basically typing in the wrong thing at the wrong point and making a mistake that causes things to go wrong. So they actually watch themselves a lot more and actually correct their own mistakes before they hit send or send off to the system and make it happen. Okay, so the change monitoring module is a small piece that's included in the GSX Monitor code. It's licensed quite differently to the way we've licensed everything before, and we'll go through that in a minute. It's basically a configuration that you set up, and I'll show you this in a demo. I'll delete mine and we'll set it up again. The thing to know that is you can set up change monitoring monitor to go and look at the notes ini or the address book of your Domino directory on that particular Domino server. And GSX Monitor is really good at scheduling that, so you can set it to run X amount of time. You can say, I want to include or exclude this stuff, that stuff. I want to pick up these particular documents, whether they're created or amended or deleted inside the address book for configuration, or server documents or program documents or whatever. And we'll see all of this in a minute. And we do all of that whilst remaining completely agentless. So there's nothing to install on the server. There's nothing to install, no databases to put on the server, nothing to upgrade when we do an upgrade to GSX Monitor. You just download the upgrade to Monitor and install that, and then there's nothing for you to do on your Domino servers. So from an administrator's point of view, it gives you all of the stuff I've just talked about, all of the benefit, the auditability, the security, the psychological benefit of making your administrators watch their fingers, without having to change anything on the Domino server itself. You don't actually need to do that. So that's all good. So the key feature is that we can monitor changes in the INI, and I've seen, one of my scenarios that I'm going to show you in a minute is that I've seen changes in an INI file be dormant for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then when the server gets a scheduled maintenance restart, that server refuses to restart. And nobody knows who did what, when it happened, what was added, what was taken away. So you spend, as an administrator or as a support person, you spend a good hour wading through a printout of the notes ini to work out what on earth is going wrong. So, as I said earlier, it's all about making sure you know where that needle is in the haystack so you can go find it really, really fast. You can also stop problems happening for your users. So if you can find this, if you see something go wrong in your change monitoring reports, you can stop it affecting other servers. You could stop replication, for instance, or you could stop, you could stop that maintenance thing happening so that, the notes ini won't cause it to not come back up. You can have, as with anything else inside of GSX Monitor, you can have your alerts delivered to your mail. You can have them sent wherever you like. What actually happens is, and we'll see this as well, you get well, maybe confusing, maybe not. You get a change monitoring message comes through to your inbox with an HTML report attached to it, which is then expandable and collapsible for whichever section you're looking at. And those reports are really good, and you can file those away, or you can use a rule to put them somewhere. You can store them somewhere for audit purposes. It's up to you. Or you can, send them somewhere else just using the ordinary alert profiles that we have inside of GSX Monitor. Okay, we talked about some of this stuff. It's a new piece of GSX Monitor, that came in 10.1, I believe, and is still there in 10.2 and being enhanced. Nothing to install on the server. No different applications to install. Doesn't only do everything that you do inside the address book for your servers as an administrator, but it also does the ini file as well, and can tell you when stuff happens, so that you're aware of it as an administrator and your admin team are aware of it, that something's changed in your environment, whether you were expecting it or not, and more importantly, telling you if something has changed when you're not expecting it. And you can implement your own HTML code in the report so that you can have it look the way you want it to. You can change all of the graphics that you don't like from us, and that's fine. Or you can, add bits in that you need to. And we can make it run every 5 minutes all the way through to once a day. Okay, so you can pick the schedule that you want for it. Okay, so I've talked quite a lot about this thing. Let's go take a look at it. So here's my, I hope everyone can see this, here's my notes client running, and here's my GSX Monitor. You'll see that this is a quick demo test system, and I've not changed anything. This is just, as you can see, it's a trial version, so out of the box functionality, I've got one server, which happens to be up, which is good news. So as you all know, you can hover over these LEDs and get a status, so it's up and running, and I'm scanning tasks and which version of Domino it is, and the mail's routing, there's no dead mail, and the log file I'm able to access, and there's nothing in there, no critical errors and no non-critical errors in there, so that's all good. So I can take a look at this tab over here at the top. I've got change monitoring. So I'm actually going to delete this particular change monitoring so that I can show you how to create one. So what I'm going to do is do delete on that. Oh, come on, mouse, work. Okay, I'll just disable it for now. So I'm going to create a new one. Oh, okay. No, I'm not. Okay, I'll just show you this one then. Why is it not working? Right, so basically in here, what you do is you set up the Domino server that you're going to scan. So we've got just one Domino server. And then this would normally be done in a wizard, but I can't show you the wizard. Oh, here we go. That's the way to do it. Right, there we go. So let's show you this now. Right, so here's my Domino server I'm going to select. So we've now got this concept of wizards inside GSX Monitor from 10.1. We introduced these, and these are really helping lots of administrators who have to use GSX. It's really helping everyone not forget those important things that we all miss because we're in such a rush and we're all so busy. So here's my server, and I'm just going to call it my server, and I'm going to test the connection. Okay, so I know I can connect to it. For those of you that are interested, it's sat down here, and I can do a show server, and you can see it's just a standard Domino 853 release for Windows 32. I'm actually running on XP here, which I know isn't supported or certified, but it works. So for this, this environment, it's fine. So I can now click on Next, and I can enable checks on the notes ini, and I can enable checks on the name and address books. So in here, in the notes ini bit, I can actually say if I don't want to include any particular keys that I know my applications use. So if I've got something that I know an application is going to change on the server every now and again, some sort of kind of, instead of using a profile doc, they've put something in the notes ini still, then I can have that key in there because I know it's going to change regularly. There's no point me getting an alert every time that changes. That's pointless. So I can exclude those if I want to. We've taken the premise of everything's included unless you tell us otherwise. And if you add a key to the notes in you'll get told about it, because it won't be one of the excluded keys, and that's why we've gone about it that way, rather than saying which keys do you want to include and which keys do you want to monitor, because at that point you wouldn't ever know that there's been a new key added. So I've enabled the names.nsf check, and I can say I want to know about server documents, configuration documents, policies, groups, web configuration, connections, and domain documents. If I go back up here to server documents, you can see that there's a formula window here, and I can test that formula, and it says that I've got one document in my address book that matches that particular formula. So any good Domino admin will be able to create that formula to pick different server docs if you want to, and you can modify any one of these. So server configuration document, program documents, none of this stuff is hidden away. So you can go and pick up, it's app function aware as well. So you can go and pick up any of those forms you like and actually change that formula to include other things if you've done, different things inside your address book, or indeed if IBM changed things along the way and we don't catch up real quick, which is something we're very, very good at doing normally. Okay. And you can also exclude fields if you want. So if you don't want to be notified about changes to the revision and updated by, then don't get that. By default, that's on. So as you can see, I've done nothing to this. I've just turned everything on. Okay. Now I need to decide how often we're going to scan this. Okay, and I'm going to scan this every 5 minutes because this is a demo. Okay, and as you can see here, we've got everything from every 30 days to every 5 minutes, okay? Or you can schedule a bunch of times yourself. So you can say, I want to do it every Monday at 9 a.m. or I want to do it Monday, Tuesday, and Friday at 4:26, or whatever. It doesn't make any difference, so long as you know what the schedule is. What's the server time zone? Depending on where your servers are, we've now got the concept of time zones from 10.1 in Monitor, and we can actually say this server is in a European time zone, or it's in an American time zone, or it's in a Asia Pacific time zone, and you can pick those up. And I'm just going to select the default alert, and if I go in here, you can see that my default alert list is to send it to the Domino admin at GSX, and that's all I'm going to do. There's no severities with it, there's no reminders, there's no escalation, just keeping it as simple as possible for demo purposes. But know that you can change all of this stuff and make it as complicated as you like, or fit it in with your existing Monitor alert policies that you already have. We can also set a maintenance window, so that if we know that server is going to be in maintenance on a Sunday evening local time zone for 3 hours from 9 p.m. till midnight, we can set that up, and then change monitoring won't actually be recognized while you're in a maintenance period. Okay, you can set it up. Personally, if you're doing maintenance on the server, one of the things you'll probably do is change stuff in the server documents or change stuff in the notes in. So I would actually not put a maintenance schedule on this for that audit and security purpose. Personally, that would be my preference. And then you can categorize your server as with everything else inside of GSX Monitor. You can add these categorizations that get used in GSX Analyzer when you start doing reports, and you want to report on all the servers in EMEA, for instance, or in Asia or in US. You can then categorize things out that way in Analyzer. Really useful. And I'm done. That's it. Finished. Okay, so you can see that we've created this beautiful reports down here at the bottom, and there's nothing going on. So what I need to do is I need to enable this. So if I tick on this box here, that enables it. And then what I can do is, not immediately obvious, but I can click on this. Okay, so this is now run a scan. It's gone green, okay, and it took 900 milliseconds to run the scan. But I can now click on this button here, and do you want to scan? Yes, I do. And that's now going to go off and do a scan and find that there's no changes. So, there we go. So this is the kind of thing you'll get back. Okay, so environmental changes, these are things in the notes ini. Server document changes is self-explanatory. Configuration docs, program docs, policy changes, web configuration documents, group changes, connection docs, and domain docs. So all of that stuff is covered, and the first thing you see is the environment changes. Now, I know that there's a key inside the Domino server that will, on the notes ini, that will change every now and again, and it's the Domino time stamp key, and that will come up if we just leave this to run. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to skip back to the presentation and talk to you about these three scenarios that we're going to talk through real quick. Scenario 1, this actually happened in a large bank. I can't tell you which one it is, but a friend of mine was asked to come in and work out what happened. So all servers have stopped replicating with each other and won't connect to each other at all. Great. So what happened? Well, let me show you what happened, because it was quite a good fun one, and I thought I'd do it for you today. Now, I've only got one server, and I'm not replicating with anyone, but somebody came into the terminations group, that lovely group that we all should have inside our Domino address books, and we should make use of. Not everyone does, but let's say I edit this, and by mistake, I add local domain admins or local domain servers instead of monitor GSX. Okay, instead of double-clicking on that, I double-click on this one instead, click OK, because I think I've done the right thing, okay? And because I'm not a very sensible administrator, I don't check my fat fingers, and I leave that mistake in there, and I save and close. And this terminations group is set in the server document to not allow any access to the server and all the rest of it, and that replicates out now to the rest of the company, which means that no server will talk to each other, okay? And if you included local domain admins in there as well, no admin can now get into the server to fix it unless they go physically to the server console. Yes, this really did happen. I can hear you all laughing. I can't really, but you know, I can figure that you're all laughing at this guy's classic mistake. So if I now do a change monitoring scan, what's going to happen is this LED over here should go yellow. There we go. It says differences have been found. Brilliant. So we know that something's changed. Okay, and then what we can do is we can come down here. Okay, environmental change. Well, there's that last Domino time, and I'm just going to pop that into the clipboard because we're going to add that to the excluded keys list in a second. Oh, look, and there's a group change down here as well. As you can see, we've got added or deleted or recycled, refreshed, updated, whatever. And if I come down here and click on this plus, we can see here that the document named terminations, so we know it's a group document called terminations, has had one updated field. So I can expand that out, and I can see all the members. Okay, so it's gone from Harry, John, and Mary to GSX local domain servers. Okay, that's not so clever. We know what time it happened, date and time, okay, and we know who was the last 5 people to update this document. So we have a rough idea who has managed to get this wrong. Okay, so we have a good audit trail on this. Hopefully that all makes sense to everyone. What I'm also going to do is go take a look at my mail file, because that should have sent me an email telling me that there's been a change. Oh, I've had a bunch actually. So I come into the last one. You can see here we've got the change monitoring down. I'm not sure that that's the right thing to say. Change monitoring alert, probably. I shall get development to change that for you. It's not been down at all. But basically, if we look here, we've got an HTML file, and if we open that, that's a copy of the report we've just seen with only the 2 bits in it that we need. So we've got this expandable sections here. So you've got a file copy of that particular report. Now, because this is Notes and Domino, and I've sent it to Notes and Domino, there's nothing to stop you sending it to Exchange and Outlook if you need to. But inside Notes and Domino, you could set up a rule that will go and archive these things away for you. So anything that says GSX Monitor Change Monitoring module, you can actually go store that somewhere sensible, because the subject will always be the same. It'll always contain this text here. Unless we change it, and then you talk to me in support, and we'll tell you what we've changed it to, and you can modify your rule. But you will get, and you will see from my mail file, that I have a lot of changes that I've been testing inside my, it goes on and on and on and on and on. And I've been doing a lot of manual reports. So let's go and change this, okay, and make sure that that's in the clipboard. So I'm going to go and change my configuration to exclude the last domino time key, because that's always going to be changing inside the notes ini. And that is the only key that I ever forcibly put into the change monitoring module, because it's the only one that I know that Domino uses in a plain vanilla Domino environment to actually update itself and keep track of where it's at. So that's the only one I ever add. And now you can see, because we've changed the configuration, the report's gone blank. So we could just run another scan, and we get a new report back, hopefully saying that nothing's changed. There you go. The LED up here is still green, so nothing's changed. Everything's good. Okay, so the server refuses to start. Okay, so let's go and say that we're about to do some maintenance on my server. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go and open up, if I could remember what I was doing. Yeah, here we go. So Domino, let's go and find the notes ini. There it is. So I'm going to go and add in, I don't know, this one actually happened as well to a friend of mine. What he did is he put his cursor here at the end of the key file name, server.id, and then he hit the D key and carried on and didn't spot it because it was a .iddd, and then he put in something, I don't know, Tim's crazy key name equals 1, whatever. So I can save that, and nobody's ever going to spot that because the Domino server is running, nothing's wrong, everything's fine. That's going to work, isn't it? Nothing's actually changed. Let's just run this scan to see that we've got, it will go and scan the notes ini and find there's a change, hopefully. Hopefully the LED will go yellow. No, it hasn't spotted it yet. Try that again. It hasn't found my Tim's crazy key and the problem I've created. Oh, that worked yesterday. I did do the Domino one, yeah, it was server.id. Okay, well, normally it would pick up that environmental change inside your notes.ini, and you would have an audit track, because the next time that you restart this server, let's just go and do that. Quick, it's easy enough. The next time that you restart this server, it's not going to restart because we've got a problem with the ID file, as everyone on this call would expect to happen. Come on, Domino. Right. Now we can try and start that up. It should complain. Not complained. Okay. I can't have changed the right one. Domino. Start ini. No, I did change the right one. Okay, well, I have no idea. Oh, server key file name. Oh, I see. So we needed to change that one. Take that out. Okay, and try that again. See if it picks up the change to the ini file this time. Ah. Okay, so it's changed that, and it's so at the same time. So here, this is what I got yesterday. So at the same time as adding this Tim's crazy key name value, somebody's added an extra D to the server ID. So if I now stop this server again, and bring it back up. It shouldn't start this time, he says, hopefully. Let's see what happens. But at least we have a record of what happened or when it was changed, so we've got an idea as to where to go look for this stuff. Come on. Carl, do we have any questions while I wait for this to happen?
Yeah, Tim. Actually, we've got a couple questions here. Let me pull it up.
You're really quiet, Carl.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me fix my mic. Is that a little bit better?
That's much better, thanks.
Okay. The first question is: are there any Are there any
Put your teeth back in,
recommendations?
Carl. It'll be fine.
Are there any recommendations for what documents to include in the scanning?
What documents to include in the scanning? Oh, good question. Okay. It depends how busy your environment is and depends what you want to scan. Personally, I would scan everything. In my Domino environment inside GSX, I scan everything so that I've got, if anybody changes anything, and I have a fairly open Domino system inside GSX. We haven't locked it down much because we kind of like to trust everyone, and we're doing changes all day, every day. So the change monitoring is actually really good for us. So you can see that this Domino server is not starting. Oh, it's complaining about it's already in use. Great. It's probably running a debug or something. So I now can't restart my Domino server, which is fine, so we're going to change this. So yes, documents. I would basically scan everything, unless you have a particular reason not to. My recommendation would be to scan everything so that you have a complete list of what's available or what's been changed, and you can do proper audit on it. That would be my recommendation. So what I've just done is taken out that mistake, and hopefully that will now allow us to restart. No. Partition. Okay, right. So let's close that down. No, you can't connect to it because it's broken. Okay. Any other questions, Carl, while I fix my VMware that's now not responding to me?
Yeah, actually, we've got a couple here. Is it planned to provide change monitoring for Bez, Microsoft Exchange, etc., or other server platforms in GSX Monitor in the future?
That's a good question and one I don't know the answer to. I am on the product board, so I should know that. It's not something we've discussed currently, but it is something, if people need this and think we can do it, then GSX is a company that's always willing to listen to its customer base and we take a lot of recommendations from our customers about what features to include inside our product. So if somebody has a particular view on that and they want to input into that process of what they think we should include in that and what the change monitoring should do, then please feel free to contact me afterwards or contact your account manager, and we'll get a dialogue going and we'll talk about that and see if we can get that stuff included. That's a great idea.
Okay, we have time for another one, Tim?
Yep, we have time for another one. I'm going to see if this is going to work.
Okay.
No.
Next question is, do you have plans to monitor changes of design elements of names.nsf as well?
Well, we could do. We haven't got plans just currently, but again, as I said previously, we like taking feature requests from our customers and love putting them in our product from our customer base. So that's one we'll put in. We'll put it into our new suggestions forum right after this. So that's another great one. Thank you. So now I'm just going to go and cheat because I'm getting bored of it's being silly. Any more, Carl, while I multitask?
Sure. How often should I scan for changes?
How often should you scan for changes? It depends on your environment, and it depends what your policies are around your auditing. If you've got audits that want you to tell them if there's been any changes on a daily basis, then I'd scan on a daily basis. If you as an administrator want to catch things early, then I'd scan every 5 minutes, because you shouldn't. It doesn't add too much load to the server, and you shouldn't have any surprises during a normal working day. So there should be no problem with that. Oh, sorry, it's my Linux background. Look, I can't get my backslashes around the right way. Okay. So NSD minus kill will kill monitor as well. Interesting. Domino server, please. Thank you very much. Right, so that's now coming back up and everything's fixed, but we still have our audit of who changed what and where it was.
We've got another question, Tim.
Yep.
Is it possible to schedule different scans for notes.ini and groups, etc.?
Yes, it is. So what you could do is you could set up a change monitoring connection. I can't in this because I didn't create myself a license just for this demo. But in here, when you get to change monitoring, you can set up in this line here. You could just say, so I don't want to change notes in this. I check the notes in this one, and I only want group documents. Why are they not turning off? Oh, no, okay. No, I want groups. Okay, so I only want groups in this particular one, and that's going to run every 5 minutes. If I had a proper license, then I could add another line for the same server, and just have it scan the notes in at a different schedule with a different set of maintenance and stuff like that. So yes, you can do that. That's fine, but you just need to set up one configuration for each particular thing you want to scan. So yeah, it's just groups now. So there we go. So you could do that if you wanted to. That's fine, and there's nothing to stop you doing that. So I think we have one more scenario. Yeah. So an add-in has been installed into the server, and the server starts behaving erratically. What I would do is I'd start looking through the change monitoring reports to see what has changed in the configuration, in the the program profile documents, all that kind of stuff, and then also in the notes ini what's actually. I'll get to the question in a second. You can see what the add-in did to the notes ini to actually change things, and when it happened, and when you can try and tie that back to your Domino server starting to behave erratically, and you'll get analyzer reports about the availability index of Domino out of GSX Monitor and Analyzer, so that you can work out when the availability started going down. Does that correlate with a maintenance period where you added an add-in and stuff like that? Was there one more question? Did I just see one pop up, Carl, or should we carry on?
Sure. I've got. Can you show what it looks like to see historic data changes over the last number of weeks?
Last number of weeks? Well, I would do that in the. That's why I was showing you my mail file, because I have it all in here, and we don't have a way of showing. No, we don't have a way of showing the reports, the previous report, which is why I would recommend you having them in your mail file, and you can then hide the preview. You can then that way. You've then got them all here. So I would then stick them automatically into a folder. Like, for instance, on this particular server, I've got iSpy running, and I just have a rule that puts them all into here. So it's fine. I just look at it through my mail client. I hope that answers the question.
All right, another one, Tim?
Yep. We're on to the Q&A section now anyway, so.
All right, in a hub-spoke topology, do I need to scan all of the names .nsf?
Good question. Yes, I would. And the reason I would is that I would probably scan the hubs more often than I would scan the spokes, because normally what would happen is, even though the address book's going to be the same, or should technically be the same on all of the different servers because it's a single domino domain, I would say yes, scan the hub more often than the spokes, maybe at a factor of 2 to 1, because if you do get a problem that's now propagating out, you want to know how far it's got before, and you can then start working out a corrective plan as to, I need to go, and I know that these servers are affected now, and I would make sure that I'm scanning all of them so I can build that plan up, and it'll just make me quicker at building the resolution plan if something went wrong. Also, if somebody does something at a spoke and then it replicates up to the hub, you want to know where it originated, so you'll see that first from the spoke and be able to tell where it's come from and which administrator has access to a server that they probably shouldn't be touching. So it's a good way of finding holes in your security as well. Okay, so are there any more questions, Carl?
Yeah, we've got one final question, Tim. What nodes INI parameters should I exclude?
Okay, so I think I covered that during the presentation. The only one that I personally exclude, and I think I think it's probably still in the clipboard. No, it's not. Okay. The only one I would exclude would be the domino server time, because everything else should be monitored and checked for changes. The only one that I know that domino changes is that one, so I would leave that one excluded, and that would be it for me. If you know you've got your own applications inside your organizations, you can add keys in there that you know are time dependent or updated regularly, but apart from that, I'd leave it as is and check everything, because it's better to know if something's gone wrong where it is than not know. So that would be my answer to that. Okay, so because the way that this is licensed is that we make you buy a license for every server license that you have currently. So if you've got a GSX install license with 100 servers on it, then to buy a change monitoring module, you need to buy 100 change monitoring licenses. And normally those are 50%, not 50%, 15% of your initial software cost if you were to buy those server licenses today. But as a special, we're doing a 35% discount if you talk to your account manager before the August 31st about buying change monitoring. We recognize that the purchasing procedures for most customers takes a little bit longer than a couple of months. So we recognize that and have extended this offer so that if you talk to your account manager start the dialogue with us about this before the 31st of August, then we'll give you a 35% discount on buying that. So and the reason we make you buy 100% of your server install is because precisely the reason that somebody brought up. If you want to run, a notes.ini check on one schedule and a names.nsf check on groups on another schedule, and then a different one on, once a day on server docs, and that stuff, then that's 3 change monitoring licenses just for one server. And you can do that, set that up as a template, and do that again and again and again for all of the servers inside your environment. So even if you're using your server licenses for other platforms, Bears, for instance, or Exchange and SharePoint and stuff like that, I'd still recommend having the full complement of server licenses so that you can utilize it in different ways. In the demo version that you can get for 30 days, as this is, you can see I've got 26 days left in this particular version. You can just add 1. You can't add any more because it's just a demo version. However, if you speak to your account manager, they can extend that for you so that you can have a bunch of change monitoring licenses to test out how it works. So if you do need or if you're an existing customer and you want to test it out, we can extend you some licenses for a period and then reset your key and send it back to you once that trial period's finished. But talk to your account manager about this stuff if it's of interest to you. If you've got any further questions that we haven't covered already today, talk to your account manager or email us at sales@gsx.com at any time, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. You can ask your account manager to let me know the questions, and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can on those, okay? And then, you know, the corporate history is that we've been around for a long time. We understand the notes and domino environment quite well, which is why we're trying to extend into these particular, you know, environments. We're trying to change the way that people administer their domino infrastructure, because we know that it can be simpler than the DDM stuff that IBM put out. And we've been doing it for a long while. We know how this stuff plays, and we know how to make this stuff easier for you. So please come and chat to your account manager, talk to them about change monitoring, and let's see if we can help you make sure that none of these disaster scenarios that I pointed out today happen to you.